sure you're ready for this?
I'll do my best.
Your best? Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and the prom queen.
Welcome to the best soccer show. The best soccer show in the whole world.
Here we go. Best soccer show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. Jason Davis and Jared DuBois with you. Sunday night action. We're here. Hi, Jared.
What's up, dude? You gonna watch that Beatles thing tonight?
There's a Beatles thing tonight?
Oh yeah, it's like this big long 2-hour thing, like Beatle respect, because it's the 50th anniversation from the Ed Sullivan appearance.
I did catch some like Beatlemania British Invasion show. I don't even know where that. Like I came across this it wasn't even just Beatles. It was British Invasion, and I came across it on like CNN International. I don't even know where it was. I watched it. I like the Beatles. I don't like live or die with the Beatles. Are you?
I don't think. No, I don't do either. But I have a huge like affinity or like affection for the Beatles. I'm totally gonna watch it tonight because here's what I'm thinking. I'm hoping is gonna happen. So Ringo and Paul McCartney go up there on stage. I hope John Lennon's son comes out and plays the John Lennon role. And they try to get like a version of the Beatles back together for like a one night thing.
Is that Julian? Or is there another one? There's like
I think Julian's the youngest one. I think there's one that's older. I can't remember what Sean. Is Sean?
Sean Lennon, maybe. I don't know.
I think it's Sean.
I don't know. These are
he had a really odd band. God, in the '90s. What the name? I can't remember the name of that band was now, but it was really kind of offbeat and odd, but kind of cool band.
Yeah. It was there was a period in the '90s where like kids of famous classic rockers had
Nelson.
Well, no, I'm not. That's the '80s. I'm thinking about, was it Jacob Dylan? Wasn't that?
Yeah, that one headlight. I mean, is that the black wallflowers? Yeah.
That was like a weird period where, and I think that was right around the time Sean Lennon got some kind of notoriety. But neither one of them are close to their pops in talent.
Yeah, where's Leif Garrett's kid?
I don't know. I don't know. Does Ringo have a kid? Where's his kid? Where's Harrison's kid? George Harrison.
I think Ringo probably has a lot of kids.
Ringo, you think Ringo has a lot of kids?
I always felt like he was the guy that, like, I don't know. Did you watch that movie Backbeat?
No, maybe.
It was a story of the fifth Beatle that didn't like it, that like backed out and like fell in love. And didn't...
Yeah, Pete Best, right? Wasn't that his name?
Yeah. And like basically how much of whores these guys were like in the early 60s before they all got married and stuff.
Well, wouldn't you be?
Oh, God, yes.
Wouldn't you be? All right, we are here to talk about soccer. I'm going to have to check in with you on Archer Vice in a little while because we've developed some things happening in this new...
Somehow Pam's hot now.
Well, I was going to ask you, Skinny Pam, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Oh, thumbs up.
Oh,
so
no,
thumbs up.
I mean from a comedic standpoint, not from a attractiveness. She's a cartoon, dude.
So, Jessica Rabbit, Thin Pam, I'm down with all of them.
All right, so that's a thumbs up on Skinny Pam from Jared DuBois on Archer Vice. I want to start. The phone lines are open, 201-430-2378. We'll definitely leave those open all night if you want to get in on anything. But to set it up, and maybe this can be the first topic of discussion for anybody who wants to call, I gotta get into these comments from Jurgen Klinsmann about the American play. He likes to do this thing where he paints everybody with a very broad brush. He likes to talk about the American player and sort of the American mentality and the.
But he never calls out his own guy.
He does this. It's passive aggressive, is it not? Is it not?
You would know.
Why?
You're a passive aggressive individual.
Where did this come from?
You are a passive aggressive. Don't act like you're not passive aggressive.
I can be. I don't think I'm. Okay. I don't think I'm markedly. Whatever.
Producer Trevor confirms 100% true.
Whatever. Okay, like he's not. Like he
is as well. He is as well.
Here's Klinsmann's comments.
I think it needs to take the U.S. team in a World Cup to go into at least a quarterfinal, if not a semifinal, to give more credibility to American players. But it's also the American players, when they go to Europe, to prove it that they become big players in Europe. So it's also down to, do they have the belief? They have the qualities, but do they have to believe? Because you go into a European top club and, if you want to play in the top 5, 6 teams in England or in Germany or in Italy, you have 15, 16, 17 national team players on the roster. So you have to kick somebody out. So I think the American player still doesn't have this last belief that they can kick somebody out, you know. And this is something that they have to build. We need players one day, like Brazil, like Argentina, you know, that play Champions League. Champions League in Europe, this is the creme de la creme. This is where the trend is made in Champions League, in European Champions League. The way they play this year in the European Champions League, you will see it in the World Cup in Brazil in summer. The systems, the approaches, because it's the best of the best. You know, we do not have players there. You know, my wish is that maybe after the World Cup, we get our Josie Altidore, our number 9, into a Champions League team, you know, or Tim Howard become goalkeeper of a big team. You know, we have good players, but we don't have the belief yet that we belong in there.
First of all, I like the way he says creme de la creme with the
creme de la creme.
Creme de la creme. Second of all, is he right? I put it to you, Mr. DuBois. Is he right?
I think he's right. I think he's right in that we as Americans, something you and I talk about all the time, have this innate thing inside us where it's like we are this good, but maybe not quite this good. And there's that little part of us that kind of brings us back to earth every time we start believing. But it is kind of a bit misnomer when he says that we need Americans in the top 6 teams in England, and we had Clint Dempsey and Tottenham. Teams in top 6 teams in Europe, in Italy, we had Michael Bradley at Roma. So it's not like we haven't had players in those positions, but he's right in that we seem to stutter when it gets to that Champions League area.
Do you think that he is taking a indirect shot at Michael Bradley, at Clint Dempsey, when he mentions top 6 teams in England, when he says top 6 teams in Italy or whatever he said there?
I'll tell you this. He names 2 players, Josie Altidore and Tim Howard, who are still in Europe. He doesn't name 2 other guys that are probably better than those 2 other guys, and 2 guys that just came back, in Michael Bradley and Clint Dempsey. So I think if you read between the lines here, he's pushing forward and being positive about 2 guys that stuck it out, and not alluding to 2 guys that just left. But let me ask another question. What do you think about Jurgen Klinsmann using the press to motivate players?
I don't have a problem with it. It's par for the course for coaches. They do this stuff. I don't have a problem with anything he said. I discount a lot of what he says because he goes back on his word so damn often. The man cannot stay consistent on a message. Pick something and stay with it. But I think he's right in this case. I obviously, this is obviously a move, or this is obviously a statement that relates to Dempsey and Bradley. I don't think, as you said, read between the lines. You don't have to do that very much to see that it's about that. I think that he sees himself as, as the guy that has to push and continue to push. And I don't have a problem with that. I think it's more complicated than flat out Americans don't have the belief. I think that's obvious. I think that's part of it. I do. I think that American players go to Europe and think I have to prove myself, but they don't necessarily think I'm going to be one of the best players. They go, I just want to make it.
Well, I tend to try to take it to the next level too. That you and I have no idea what it's like for an American to play and hit that glass ceiling in Europe, and maybe the frustration. There could be a frustration that you and I can't understand from the outside, and even Jurgen Klinsmann can understand as a German national. Sure. That at a certain point you're good enough, and the opportunity just may not be there for you because there may be other people that look at you as American and say, maybe he can't help us. Maybe he's not ready for the highest level, the creme de la creme, if he's American.
Yeah. Get to the chopper! I do think that that there is still an element of not anti-Americanism, but certainly, if you have, and I've seen this, I can't remember who said this, but somebody recently addressed this issue and said if a scout or a coach goes to someone on the board or whatever and says, or to a manager and says, I like this player and he's American, and they have somebody similar who's African, then the leaning is towards the African player. The belief is that the African player is more ready to play at that level.
Hasn't history shown, at least there's proof, or there's history on Africa's side?
The problem is that's part of it. But I mean, look, if Americans aren't getting a fair shake, it's going to be hard for them to prove it. I think that it shouldn't be used as an excuse, and that's where the danger is. Like that's where that is. You don't want it to become, well, Americans don't get a fair shake in Europe. That's why we always fail. Let's not even bother. I don't want that to happen. But I do think that there is, if you hit any resistance whatsoever when it comes to bringing in a player, you know who said it? It was Jerome Delantin, who used to be at Monaco and is now the boss of the Red Bulls, right? He's the one who addressed this, and he said he thinks it exists. He said it to the Men in Blazers guy, Roger Bennett, in a column. It definitely exists. Again, whether it should be an excuse and whether it's true everywhere, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say all of Europe looks down on American players. I don't think that's the case.
No, but I also understand from the American mentality that, hey, listen, maybe if those offers aren't coming your way, we said it when it happened on both occasions.
Right.
A guy comes along with you $6 million.
Right.
Hey, how much is respect really worth? How much is proving something really worth when you have someone handing you $6 million?
Yeah. And that's the new wrinkle. The new wrinkle is that MLS has stepped up to the plate and said, you know what? If it's going to be difficult for you there, if it's going to be too much of a fight day in and day out, and you want to be able to, and you don't think you can play your best soccer or whatever the reason, or you're not getting paid, or you don't want to have to go, you're one of the better players, but you don't want to have to go to training every day wondering where your place is. And you can say what you want about the fighting spirit of any player, but at some point you've reached a level of and you think you deserve a little bit of slack and you're not getting it. Then if MLS is going to step into that void, then that's the new thing. I mean, 10 years ago, this isn't even an issue. Michael Bradley's got nowhere else to go except stick it out at Rome or tell them to sell him within Europe. And the same thing. It's
easy to stay grassroots, and it's easy to stay hungry, and it's easy to stay down for the cause for all Americans when all things are equal. But $6 million is not all things equal for these guys.
Right. And again, I mean, if Michael Bradley thought that his playing time was only going to be severely limited in the 6 months ahead of a World Cup, why wouldn't he make the move for $6 million? If Clint Dempsey thought, well, this is a chance, and again, these guys have families, and we cannot separate out for these particular two individuals, and it depends on the player. Well, we can't separate out these two individuals, that element of their lives. They care. Like, Jared, if you were offered a job for for $1 million, and it wasn't necessarily a step up in like respect or prestige, you take it because it means something.
Yeah, I'm trying to prove nothing in the American logistics market. So yes, I would take the money.
Right, you would take them as long as it wasn't going to get you like in trouble legally. You take the money and you would go and you'd live in the middle of Kentucky for $1 million. I know you would, because I'd do the same damn thing.
Yeah, it would be very, very tempting. Granted, listen, I really look down in the middle of America. You know this, so I still would have a couple second thoughts. But even $1 million to deal with y'alls, I don't know if I can do it. But it would buy me a lot of earplugs.
You would definitely you would try. I mean, you would consider it, and you would try.
I would consider.
And if it means giving your kids a better life, and look, I know that it's easy for us to stand here and look at Michael Bradley and say, well, he was making $800,000 or whatever it was at Rome, but that's a hell of a lot of money to me. I can't believe he would just, you can still give his family a good life. There's a big difference between $800,000.
I really wish someone would be able to ask Klinsmann the question and get an answer on where does he rank monetary value and what you can bring in monetarily in these decisions, because it seems to me that Klinsmann's saying that yes, you should fight, yes, you should try to prove something, but he's a guy that made a lot of money and got paid a lot of money to play at that highest level. I wonder how much he plays that into. And listen, he's a guy that has to prepare a team for a World Cup. And in that regard, I absolutely believe that the best place for these guys is to fight it out in Europe. I believe that. I think he's right. And for his small sphere of influence, he wants guys over there proving it on the highest level.
I think he can also understand and respect the decisions made by a couple of guys and also want to send a message to everybody else. And yeah, it may be a backhanded slap to Bradley and Dempsey when he didn't mention names, but he's talking about it when he says these things. But I think the message is for everybody else. And he mentioned Altidore, he mentioned Howard. Those are two guys that, based on their skill sets, could be playing at higher levels. Josie's suffered from an extreme lack of confidence recently. Mm-hmm. We know how good Tim Howard is, and I think that it's kind of 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. 6 of it is Americans don't believe enough, and 6 of it is they need to get the shots. They need to get better shots.
Well, it's funny. Last October, September, you didn't really hear Jurgen Klinsmann take a shot when Clint Dempsey came back. He was kind of held his tongue a bit. He didn't say much either way about him. But now with Michael Bradley, I think that might be the difference between 30 years old, 26 years old,
Maybe.
and a guy still really on the up. Whereas Dempsey's probably at his top.
Yeah.
Right when he makes this move. If top, maybe cresting, we'll see. But Bradley's definitely still on the up. Now, I think that's the one that hurts if you're Jurgen Klinsmann.
Yeah,
that's the one that that's the one that hurts for everyone, not just Klinsmann. I think that's the one that hurts for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, that's the guy that was going to do it.
Maybe.
Now, who's the guy that's going to do it?
Jared, would you move to where they say it like this?
America, America, America,
Who's that?
America,
That's a guy saying America.
That's how I say America.
You don't say
America.
America. You don't
Oh,
say
I
it.
don't drop the A. I don't go America.
Well, he didn't quite say America, but it is out there. The other part of this that I want to separate out and ask, and we'll again put this to the callers, 201-430-2378. When Jurgen Klinsmann says it's going to take a quarterfinal, semifinal appearance, do you believe that the dam breaks open if that happens? If the Americans make it to the quarters of the semis in Brazil, does somehow a magic wall lift, and all of a sudden teams across Europe are now looking at American players in ways they never did before?
The American players know better when they make a semifinal than they were if they didn't make the semifinal. The players are the same, but I see the other part of the question you're trying to ask is the perception change?
Yes.
I think that the perception is forced to change. I mean, was anyone? Maybe this might not be a good example because Belgium hasn't done anything yet, but like the Belgium has taken a huge step in terms of what people value because they see there's a product there. I mean, granted, there might be a little bit of hipster to it too, with Belgium being everyone's. But if they hit the semifinals in this World Cup, the view of Belgium is going to be different than what it is 4 years ago.
I think Belgium's stock is incredibly high right now. I don't know how it can go higher. I mean, yeah, if they win something, if they get to the last four, the last two, yeah, that's.
But Jurgen Klinsmann's right. Until you do something, it's all just people's opinions, and that's what scouting is. Listen, it's scouting. Everyone has an opinion on if something's good or bad. But when you win something, there's something objective and tangible to attach to it. Again, and the U.S. doesn't have that right now.
That's why I think this is a little bit of two different things at play. It's Jurgen Klinsmann being his passive-aggressive self, sort of trying to motivate American players and to push American players because he sees that as his role. It's why he's getting paid $2.5 million. And I also think it's the other side of it, kind of reminding the world, hey, this is all subjective. And just because you have an idea of what an American player is doesn't mean you're absolutely right. And if they're given a shot, some of them may surprise you. And look, I don't even blame the international soccer infrastructure for sort of having this lingering attitude. I mean, the Americans have to do something. They have to do something outside of CONCACAF. And yeah, beating Mexico in 2000 or beating Mexico and then giving Germany a game in 2002 was nice, but it was so soon after the start of MLS and before, really you felt like things had gotten going for the United States. It's only 8 years after 94. 8 years after 94 that you didn't feel like it really kind of a fully formed American soccer environment yet. And now we're way, way, way down the line. And if they do something like that, yeah, I mean, I don't know about like 10 guys getting signed to top tier leagues and top half teams all of a sudden, but I do think that there would be a sort of a run on interest in American players, especially.
I do find it interesting that the dichotomy of if the U.S. made a quarterfinal run, like Jurgen Klinsmann said, to get respect, you wouldn't get respect in the U.S. for making a quarterfinal run because from the general sports public in the U.S. because America loves winners. America loves winners. You're not going to listen. You may change minds overseas with a quarterfinal, even semifinal run, but America likes winners. When the World Cup's over, if the U.S. won the World Cup, there'd be people in the U.S. here that believed. If they don't win the World Cup, that's what we care about.
There are certain people who would not change their attitude unless. I
just think it's funny. It's easier to change people's minds overseas than it probably is in our own country.
That's probably true. I mean, are we talking about the non-soccer fan or are we talking about the hardcore?
I think some of both, to be honest with you. Because you know as well as I do that even in the U.S. right now, there's guys that will not watch MLS. They won't watch the American player.
Right. No,
They'll watch every other guy in the rest of the world.
Yeah, no, I love this. And just to kind of spin it to what happened today, I love this. When Clint Dempsey doesn't make the bench for Fulham against Manchester United, after playing 120 minutes against Sheffield United in the was it the FA Cup or the League Cup?
I believe.
In midweek. After that, and having played significantly for Fulham since he went over, I saw this tweet. He can't even make the bench for the last place team in the Premier League. Please.
Yeah.
Please. Are you serious? No, look, is Clint Dempsey on the top of his game? Best he's ever been? No, of course not.
Nope.
We all know that. Is he better than he's shown? I over the last 6 months, I think he is. He's got to.
But this was never. I guess part of it, though, this was never about Clint Dempsey going over there and turning Fulham's season around. I'm sure Fulham would love for that to happen. For Clint Dempsey, it's about getting reps, games, and being ready for the start of MLS season. I would like it to come with goals and assists and productive play as well. But in the end, the real reason for him to go was get experience. Get fitness.
It was just this attitude. The people who with their knives out in this community in the United States who get their knives out and want to take that shot and rile people up. First of all, you're an idiot. If you say it, if you said that this means something or it proves something, you're an idiot. I'm sorry. It's one game. And if you looked at that team that Mulan's team put out there, they went to Old Trafford with a goal in mind. Let's get 1 point with a scoreless draw. They actually ended up getting 1 point out of a 2-2 draw, which is pretty damn amazing. But it was still very clear what they were trying to do. I'm not sure Clint Dempsey had a place in that team. And I think that if you look and actually consider the context, but we like to jump to those conclusions, don't we? In this,
I think there's people that were always waiting for. There's sharks always in the water, waiting to bring down the American player. And it's funny, because it's funny that we do it to ourselves. Not that Americans owe anything to other Americans, but it's just so weird to watch the feeding frenzy go on around. Same thing with Josie Altidore right now, who's actually playing better than he has probably at any time this season. He's still not getting the goals. Sutherland having a little bit better run of results over the last month, and Josie's actually playing better than he has been lately. But no one wants to say that. Oh,
some people are saying it. I think that Josie actually is getting a kind of a fair shake in terms of appreciation of what he's done recently to help Sunderland turn things around. I do think that he's getting that people who know what they're talking about are pointing out, and this is it helps that Poyet is out there in the press saying it too. But they're out there saying that.
And Adam Johnson, I believe I read something him kind of building up Josie as well.
I think he's got the respect of those guys. I really do, and I think that he's got. I think he's got a.
Know what? The same guy that's talking about Clint Dempsey is the same guy that says, "Oh, Josie Altidore couldn't score against Hull," denying the fact that there was a 3rd-minute red card, and after that, he's playing as a lone striker in a 10-man team. That happens too.
Yeah. No, I know. Completely ignore the context. Just take that flat, that easy
couldn't score again.
It's fine. Hey, whatever. But again, I think what all of this sort of adds, and that's happening in this country. You can imagine. I know you said it would be easier to change opinions in Europe than it might be here. But all of that stuff is just adding on that brick after brick in the wall. That is the difficulty American players have in that environment. And look, it's just this I think the English are more guilty of it than anybody. But it's just this long kind of built up attitude that Americans just don't know soccer, period. And in order to chip away at it, it's going to take something on a grand scale. It can't just be, oh, the Americans drew England in the World Cup. Well, they must know their soccer. No, it's not going to be like that. It's going to have to be something much, much bigger. And even Clint Dempsey scoring, as many goals as he did for Fulham in the Premier League and making a name for himself, that was always viewed as a kind of a one-off situation. It wasn't given this widespread, this is what Americans can do thing about it. And that's, again, it's fine. It's just, it is what it is. I'm not going to bitch about it, but Americans have to keep plugging away. And that's the one thing that is sad about what Michael Bradley decided to do. Less Clint Dempsey because of his age. But
I think most Americans would rather see Michael Bradley sit the bench for Manchester United and at least be on their payroll than playing every game for a team like Fulham.
That's actually a very good... You didn't lay it out that way. But I'd be curious to know from people at Best Soccer Show on Twitter, 201-430-2378. What Jared just asked. Pick your poison. Michael Bradley, what'd you say? Playing at Fulham every week in, week out?
Yeah, playing at Fulham week in, or sitting the bench, but on the books at Manchester United. Yeah. Let's even throw Manchester United, because people are going to say because they're terrible right now. Let's change it to Chelsea.
Chelsea, sure. A big name, a big club.
Top four,
it's challenging for a title. And certainly England is the highest profile league in this country.
I'll say right now which one I would rather have. I'd rather have him playing every week.
So would I. And this is, you're sort of painting a Chicharito situation. Because he gets in late as a sub today in that game against Fulham. But that's he's getting 25-minute appearances. and he's not getting them regularly.
Which wouldn't be a big deal if he showed up for Mexico and was still the Chicharito 3 or 4 years ago, but he's not.
But see, that's the thing. How much of that and how much of his difficulty getting on the field for Manchester United is impacting how he plays with Mexico?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Here's the problem. Here's the thing for me. I don't need the notoriety, the respect, or the stature that comes with a paycheck with a certain team's name on it. Because here's the thing: whether you're playing for Chelsea or whether you're playing for Fulham, you're playing the exact same competition every week. The difference is you're playing in one of those scenarios.
Mm-hmm. No,
even with Klinsmann, if you go back to the quotes you're talking about Klinsmann, you get the notion that Klinsmann would rather have them battling for a spot, either bench or starting, at a high-level Champions League team than someplace else where they're playing all the time, right?
I think this also indicates that Klinsmann is working at cross purposes sometimes. Yes, his job, his outward main job, is to put together the most competitive team possible for the World Cup in Brazil, correct? That's his main job.
Yeah.
That's most of what he's getting paid for. But he's also kind of getting paid for, and his mandate is also to advance the American game in this sort of nebulous way that is, you can't really write it down and explain what it is. He's just got to be out there, and this is what these comments mean. He's pushing American players to challenge themselves, and he's pushing for this, and he's pushing for that, and he wants America to take its rightful place because, look at all this stuff that we have going on. Look at the spirit of America. If we could only play like the spirit of America, we'd be one of the best teams in the world, blah, blah. So when he is doing that, when he is advocating essentially for a player like Michael Bradley to stick it out Roma, play once every 3 games, start once every 3 games, maybe get a couple of sub appearances in there, rather than come back to MLS and play at TFC for $6 million or not, I think that in MLS is going to benefit him in the short term for the World Cup team. I believe that, based on the alternative being not playing enough.
Yeah.
But for Klinsmann, it's the symbolic thing of Michael Bradley at Roma that is also...
That's a long-term thing. That's a long-term thing.
Yeah, Jurgen Klinsmann is working both short and long-term, and he's the first national team coach we've had that's doing...
You have to when you get a 4-year contract extension before even a World Cup cycle is over.
But it's even beyond that. It's even beyond 4 years. This is a generational thing, I think, in Klinsmann's head. This is America, climbing to the top of the mountain.
So are his players letting him down by coming back to MLS then instead of fighting it out? Are these players letting down the next generation of soccer players by not fighting for them?
They don't owe anybody anything except for themselves and their careers. I honestly believe that. They don't owe... Michael Bradley doesn't owe American soccer sticking it out.
Okay, I have a different pick your poison for you then, and another one along the same regards.
All right.
Poison.
Does Michael Bradley do more for U.S. soccer to come back and give back to MLS at a high level, or if he stuck it out in Europe and tried to become one of the preeminent all-time Americans playing in Europe? Which does more for American soccer?
Okay,
because people sell all the time coming back to the game.
I'm going to say MLS, but I'm only going to say MLS because it's a sure thing that Michael Bradley is getting paid this amount of money, that he is a big name in this league now, coming back, and then he's going to be on the field, barring injury, week in and week out for Toronto, anchoring that team as they try to turn themselves into a contender. If he had stuck it out at Roma, I don't know exactly what the end game would have been. I can't know if somehow he proves himself and becomes a regular starter, or Roma sells him to another team of equal or higher standing that plays him every week. I mean,
I'm going to take one step farther than that, Jason. He not only needs to come back and when he plays for Toronto FC in MLS, he needs to be obviously a step above everyone else in this league in order for him to really mean something. He needs to come back, and the difference between he and every other midfielder in this league needs to be apparent.
I know.
Easily apparent.
You said that before. I'm dropping that in because you repeated yourself. But it's a good point. It's absolutely a good point. I think that he'll be of a higher standard. We'll see what happens. Here's a question. This comes off of a tweet from BD Smokey on Twitter. He says Aaron Johansson will be the next American to rise to international attention in Europe. My question, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I think he's got the potential to be a very good striker for a while in Europe. But my question is, if Aaron Johansson becomes a top-level striker, let's say he ends up in a Chicharito role, or he ends up scoring a lot of goals for a team like Spurs, or a top 2 or 3 team in any of the big leagues. If that happens, does that necessarily say anything about American soccer?
He'll never get the same respect as if someone like Josie Altidore did it from Americans. I don't think.
I'm saying the perception of American soccer will not be significantly impacted.
No, not nearly the same way as if it was someone like Josie that did it. But I'll also say this: there's another reason Aaron Johansson's going to have an easier time than Josie to get to that level, because Josie's size belies the position on the field he should be playing with, because everyone sees that size and that power and thinks number 9, number 9, number 9. The fact of the matter is, Josie has evolved into being able to play that role. That's not who he is or has always been as a striker. Aaron Johansson, he plays right into his physical strengths. Every team can use that type of player, just like every team can use a number 9. But Josie didn't play as a number 9 his whole life growing up. Going through New York and everywhere else he's been, he always didn't play a classic back-to-goal striker. But people see that body. Look at right now in Sunderland. Lone striker, up top, back to goal.
There's some irony there, because this is America. And if you go and watch even the high-level youth travel clubs, and the system is a mess. And we know that the system is a mess. But if you go watch those teams, there are a lot of teams who are playing with a target. They're playing direct soccer. They're playing with, they may be playing 4-4-2, but they definitely got a target forward up there whose job it is to play back to goal and set his teammates up, maybe find his strike partner. Josie Altidore grew up in this country playing soccer here, and somehow, despite the fact he was always big and strong, managed to avoid being that guy. And it's just ironic if you consider the way American soccer typically teaches its kids who are of Josie's skill set.
Yeah, and that's why I think Aaron Johansson, he is the player he should be for his stature. And I think that's something that plays right into his strengths. He can be sold exactly as is, whereas Josie is being converted into this target guy. And I think that's one of the reasons at Sunderland, especially one of the many reasons at Sunderland, especially, he's faltering a bit and failing to find ground, because he's being put into a box that I don't think is necessarily his box.
Okay. Fair enough. I think that's absolutely fair. If you have any thoughts on Jurgen Klinsmann's comments or any of the things we talked out here, 201-430-2378. I'm going to shift us over now to the big MLS news of the past week. That is David Beckham in Miami announcing that he's exercising his option. Really, it wasn't much of anything except for sort of a campaign event.
Yeah.
It was Don Garber there giving his support to David Beckham. And I think that Don Garber's presence was symbolic to the people of Miami. Hey, you get out of his way or you make it easy for him to get the stadium built, and we're coming. But you got to back my book.
It's kind of like when the new president, after a president's cycle, the new guy that's running for president has the old president kind of show up just to back you. Right. It's just that symbolic gesture of how this is our new guy. Yeah. But what really bothers me about it, listen, it wasn't much different than I thought it would be. I was really hoping for some news to come out of it. And there's not much of anything in terms of actual news that came out that people didn't already know.
In the aftermath, they started talking about that Port Miami site, which from people in Miami will tell you is both good and bad. I think our boy Vince from Toronto's on the line. What's up, Vince?
Oh, hey, Jason. Hey, Jared.
Yo,
what's up?
Hey, guys. I'm this is a really interesting topic. What Klinsmann said and everything, and I'm of the opinion that I don't think you guys are going to necessarily agree with this. I honestly do believe the U.S. has produced at least one world-class player, but for the most part, the U.S. just hasn't produced that consistent talent that other countries have. It'll happen, especially as the game keeps growing. But
who's the one?
Donovan, who I know, Jason, you say you feel that he has reached potential. I feel that he hasn't. Because of his early career and the troubles that he went through in Germany, other than him, I don't believe the U.S. has produced that truly world-class talent.
Okay, I there's no way to say you're wrong, right or wrong, Vince, but I will say, and this actually goes, I'm going to reference something that my friend Richard Whittle, who's the editor at the footy blog at the Score, counterattack blog at the Score up in Toronto. He wrote something about Juan Mata, and I'm going to use it sort of in the context of American players. He sort of wrote about how Juan Mata went through this system and went from this club to that club, and basically what he was saying is, yes, Juan Mata was giving good coaching, but so much of what made him the player he is sort of just getting out of his way and giving him the pathway to be successful. I'm not sure that pathway exists for any American player. And I'm not even talking about the kids who get pulled to Barcelona at 12. I just don't know that there's the same sort of it's you can go to your local club, and once you're good enough, then they'll pass you along to someone like Madrid or Barcelona or Atletico, and then you play for them for a couple of years, and then you're sold on to a bigger club, and it's step by step by step. American kids don't get that opportunity. And that's a major part of making it possible for the United States to produce that talent that you're saying is missing.
Yeah, no, that is part of it. But I also believe that, when players have been given that opportunity, many of them just haven't worked out. And I'm talking about the flashy positions, the goal scorers, the wingers.
Okay.
People like Eddie Johnson and Josie in his early career, they didn't do anything in Europe that would justify any other European team saying, hey, look, this is a well of talent that we could go to when it comes to the U.S.
Well, let me ask you one question on that there, Vince. If Landon Donovan is the one world-class player the U.S. has produced, what does that say? What are you saying about Clint Dempsey then? Because honestly, at how many different chances or how many different times has Landon Donovan ever been tested at the world level? Whereas Clint Dempsey's been a top 10 scorer in the EPL. So how do you base Landon Donovan as being the one world-class player when he doesn't get tested at the world level but every 4 years?
This is all based on what I witnessed, what I've watched of his early career when he was young, when he was, I believe he won the golden, not the golden, but whatever the best player award was for the
U17 tournament.
Then he won the best young player award at the 2002 FIFA World Cup. And he's talked about this too, where he didn't necessarily understand the privilege that he was given when he was at Bayer Leverkusen. Clint Dempsey's been fantastic. I put him right below that caliber of those greats because he's been really good, but he has had his times where he's not as consistent.
Again, I think that Clint Dempsey's story sort of speaks to the problem I'm pointing out. If Clint Dempsey grew up in a different, even a European country that doesn't have a top-level league, he's going through a different path than he ended up going through here, where he's playing club soccer. He goes to Furman. He plays at Furman for a little while. Then suddenly, then he gets drafted and he plays in MLS. That is still a very uneven way to go about progressing to a top level. And I'm not saying that Clint Dempsey didn't reach his potential. He might have, but I can't imagine he wouldn't have been a better player. Certainly at a young... You can't
say it wasn't stunted somehow by the hurdles he had to go through.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm not even making a value judgment that the European process is better. I do think that it will.
I'd say that.
Well, I mean, if your only concern is the top level American talent,
because for so many families in America, Clint Dempsey's story wouldn't have happened. Because how many families are going to have their kid drive? They're going to drive their kid hours and hours and hours to play.
But at the same time, he went to college, and I'm not going to make a value judgment that American soccer players going to college is somehow bad. It's bad if you only care about how good the national team is or how good the top level American players are. Then it's bad. But college is a good thing for most kids, and to have the option is still a good thing for most kids. And
what I'm saying is that how many kids, how many Clint Dempseys in this country don't happen because of how much effort it takes to play youth soccer.
I agree. Thanks for the call, Vince. I appreciate it, man. No, I agree with you for the most part. Let's get back to Miami. I don't want to short shrift the story of the week in MLS. David Beckham signing up his option for Miami, Florida. Don Garber in attendance, mayor of Miami-Dade County. First thing I'll say is, how did we not get Beckham needs to really push, and that's a major part of this, the PR push. How do we not get a viral video of David Beckham as Crockett? He needs a Tubbs, but how?
I'm telling you right now, LeBron James is the Tubbs.
Oh my God, we have just made gold.
I put it in the notes. You put you didn't see my punchline.
I did not see your punchline. 661, you're on the air.
Yes, hello. My name's Robert. I'm calling from Alaska.
What's up in Alaska, man?
Pretty cold.
I imagine.
The anti-Miami.
What's on your mind tonight?
Well, it's about like a month till the next ML season starts, and I kind of want to talk about the upcoming TV rights.
Okay.
Now I don't know how it is, but it's like ESPN and Fox are going to have it, so I know it's going away from NBC.
Well, look, I'm
a little worried about that.
In 2014, you will still have NBC Sports and ESPN. And I'll say that as of now, we had some rumors at the beginning of the year, but as of now, we don't know who's getting the next contract because nothing has been confirmed. There's no deal announced They're still negotiating, and the thought from a lot of people is that news that we did get, and that ESPN or that NBC was out and Fox was in, may have been a negotiating ploy, a public negotiating ploy on whoever's part. So I think there's still a chance NBC is involved. I just don't know right now.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, like, I never saw it. Like, you guys always talked about how the coverage on Fox was kind of poor.
Yeah.
Or, because I've only seen it on ESPN and NBC, so this is what I know of. I think saying, like, the coverage goes.
Yeah, everybody's afraid of Fox. Everybody's very afraid of Fox. I think there's a lot of people out there who are scared of what Fox will do. I don't know what to tell you other than just wait and see. I don't think it's a done deal that NBC is out. I think right now that's the conventional wisdom. But without an announcement, without knowing that a deal's been signed, I think it's difficult for anybody to say what's going to happen. Fox probably wants back in, and that'll be beneficial to MLS in the future.
Yeah,
and I
three-way bidding war only helps MLS.
Yeah, I think I said this when the rumors came out, Jared. I said if it's $70 million and NBC is out and Fox is in, or $30 million and NBC still in, I want the $70 million because I know that. I
mean, Don Garber, how many times can he pull the trigger on taking a lower cost, but for better production? You can't do it too many times.
No, I don't think you can do that anymore. Thanks for the call from Alaska, man. I really appreciate it. So okay, just back to this for a second. We have established that David Beckham and LeBron James need to do some sort of viral video that involves them as
rolling up in a Lambo. And the doors kind of slide open old school 80s style, because I think Lambos are one of the only cars that still do that, where they roll up.
The gull wing.
You get out, you're rocking t-shirt and blazer, like linen suit.
Yeah, pastels. It's got to be pastels. Everything.
Yes.
Everything Miami. Have you noticed this? That like, and I watched not too long ago. I watched a documentary about the 80s and Miami. The cocaine was called Cocaine Cowboys. That era has like. And that's not fair. I mean, then they're done with it, and it's not the violent city it used to be. But that era defines Miami. And I just mentioned Archer Vice. The open to Archer Vice is Miami Vice. I mean, that's why it's called Archer Vice.
That's why, like, I always keep joking. I want them to name the team Vice City FC. I think that'd be a badass name.
It would be a badass name. Well, okay, we don't have details. Again, I think everything that's come out after that event has been. Well, now they've got to go find the stadium site. It looks like Port Miami's the focus, but they say they've got 30 other sites, blah, blah, blah. From your perspective, and I'm hesitant to put, a big X mark on it because things do change. But from your perspective, are you worried about this? Do you think it's trouble?
The Port Miami site?
Yeah. No, Miami, period. Miami and
I feel less worried about it. I'd be worried about it if there's someone not like Beckham with the pockets and the pedigree involved there. But what does worry me just a little bit, I've been going back and forth in this. I have very little worry in terms of branding. That's one of the things that worries me all the time for expansion in the U.S. is branding. And like, what's the crest going to like? What's the name going to be? What's the colors going to be? What's the kit? I think American soccer fans are savvy enough now to know when they get a San Jose Earthquake kind of rebrand, or they get a real good brand like Portland Timbers. Okay, so I'm only thing that worries me about is that Beckham keeps talking about, especially in this press conference, how personal it is to him. I'm almost feeling like he's going to put the word Beckham somewhere in the name of this team.
No, he's not doing that. That is not going to happen.
I hope not.
I will bet you my life savings. I don't have a whole lot, but I bet you my life savings he does not put Beckham in the name.
He just keeps talking about how personal it is.
I understand that there's zero chance he's putting Beckham in the name of the team. First of all, here's a couple problems with that. Okay, the main reason is because it impacts the resale value of the club significantly. If David Beckham gets to the point where he says, "All right, I've done enough, and look, I can double my money, triple my money," which he might be able to do in a couple of years, and he wants out, and his contract allows him to sell, who's going to buy that team if David Beckham is selling it and the name Beckham United or whatever?
Kyle Beckerman, and he's going to make a small change.
Okay, Kyle Beckerman's got that. He's got scratch like that. Damn.
Somebody dreads like that wouldn't know how to get some Vice City stuff going.
It's just not going to happen. I don't know what it's going to be.
All right, as long as he stays away from that, do you have any worries about the branding for that team? Because I don't, as long as it stays away from that.
Okay. I have had people say that maybe going like Deportivo Miami or Atletico Miami is not the best idea, and I'm not a giant. Oh no, I think it like image wise, I like the sound of it, but I don't know. Maybe maybe it appeals to the Latino community, or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. And then you have the derivative thing. I'm not a giant fan of that. I mean, I think the one thing I'll say about Sporting Kansas City, and I didn't like it. I hated that.
Yeah. So did I.
The one thing I'll say about it is they chose a European moniker that is not so widespread and well known in this country that they made it their own. That they made Sporting a Kansas City thing.
Unlike an FC.
Nobody thinks of
Or
Lisbon.
Real.
Yeah, nobody thinks of Lisbon now, or the Portuguese club when they think of Sporting Kansas City. But if you did Atletico Miami, people are thinking of Madrid. Atletico Madrid. If you do Deportivo Miami, people are thinking of all those Deportivo clubs in Latin America and in Spain. And the Deportivo is general enough that maybe you can get away with it. Maybe
I think you can get away with Deportivo. But you talk about Atletico, you're going to have an issue there. But especially with Atleti being in the top of the La Liga right now, it's very on everyone's mind. But I think you're right. I think you can get away with the Deportivo. I think they're smart to tie it to a Latino kind of vibe. I think is it a little bit. Is it a little bit stale or maybe fake if it's a white boy from North London or West London? I can't remember where he's from. Rocking a Deportivo tag.
How much Spanish does he speak? I mean, he played in Spain. How much Spanish do you think he speaks?
I've heard him speak in Spanish in LA in press conferences. I don't know how good it is because I'm not on the other end of it, but I've heard him make the attempt.
Okay, but I'm sure the accent is horrendous, but it doesn't matter, right?
I wonder who's better, Landon Donovan or David Beckham.
Landon Donovan's Spanish, and I don't speak. I'm not a native speaker. I don't speak fluently, but I know enough to know Landon Donovan's Spanish accent is hilarious. I just know that it is. I mean, he speaks fluent Spanish, but it's got the American thing on it, which I find fascinating. I'm hopeful of this. I think it's interesting to see sort of the explosion of interest that Beckham's attachment has caused, because I mean, what we saw on Wednesday was in fact a campaign event. Hell, back David Beckham and you'll get a team in Miami. And to see sort of the explosion of interest and people's talking about, I had calls to Soccer Morning from people who said, I live in Miami. People who never talk about soccer are asking me about Beckham and MLS. That's his power. That's the power of his brand. Yeah. If anybody could make it happen in Miami, it's David Beckham. I just worry about years 3, 4, and 5. And
I will say this: I think the kind of Latino vibe is smart also, because if you look at the other Miami, how terrible is the branding of Dolphins?
Okay.
What does that really make someone feel connected to their community or anything like that? You can totally connect with more of a Latino vibe in Miami.
And like the guy writing the checks is Marcelo Clore, who's got cash and he's Bolivian.
Exactly. And also that gives you a little bit more credence to it, other than the white boy from London going like the Latin vibe. I mean, with Clore, you have a little bit of that.
Here's the thing about David Beckham. I think he's got that like pan-ethnic thing where it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter where he goes. People accept and adopt him. Bill Clinton's got the same thing working.
Yes.
That thing where doesn't matter. David Beckham, you're one of us. I don't care what you look
like. Both
like.
dudes are dropping panties left and right too. But what other thing about?
Sorry. That's the first natural Jay Rodius of the evening, and we're 48 minutes in.
With Beckham's deal with Adidas, who he's been with forever, and Adidas being the kit maker for MLS, is Miami the one team in MLS that's going to be allowed to have a completely custom template for their kits? Every other team's rocking template this, template that. Will Miami be the team that Adidas puts more effort into?
That's the least of my concerns. That's the least.
Love that.
I know. I mean, I care what they look like. I want them to look good. I want every team to look good. But that's right now. That's the least of my concerns. Get the stadium deal done.
Give me your take on San Jose.
I was underwhelmed. I don't think it's anything special. I think it's kind of boring. It's not bad by any stretch.
It's very San Jose.
It's just there's not a lot there to make me go, that's really cool. I do
like their all red kit though.
Okay. No, I'm cool with like the throwback to 74.
The badge was horrendous.
And the George Best days. I'm cool with all that. Yeah, I get that. I just don't the logo. It's the logo in particular just doesn't. I don't feel any like there's no heat off of it. It's just a thing. It just exists.
It's just vanilla.
Yeah,
super vanilla.
It just exists. And there are incredibly good like logos popping up. The Detroit FC logo. Have you seen that one with the statue on it? Is fantastic. There's another one out there. Sacramento FC or Sacramento Republics is fantastic as well. So there's good stuff happening.
Here's a tweet going back to something we were talking about earlier when we were talking about Clint Dempsey and the commitment for youth soccer. This is from one of our listeners, Naveed, who says, main reason I dropped soccer, mom and dad didn't have time and money for travel soccer and was a late bloomer for high school soccer.
Yeah, no, I think access is a different issue that obviously plays into how good Americans can be. That's obviously, like if you want to take it all the way back to its root cause, yeah, that's it. But I'm talking about it, even the kids who manage to get through youth soccer and maybe are 15, 16 years old, which is, I mean, you could argue that it's even more crucial to get top quality coaching before that, which isn't happening on a wide level here. But 15 to 16, when your decision is, do I start trying to get recruited for college? Where do you go? What's your aim?
Yeah.
What path do you have? You don't really have one. There's not a nice, easy way to go from local club to bigger club to world star.
It's all about how do you get chicks. If you can get, if you're 15 to 17, all that matters is how you. If being on the soccer team is cool and you can get chicks, you will play soccer. If you're gonna get chicks, you ain't gonna have to do it. Jason Davis doesn't like chicks. It looks like he just timed out. All right, we'll give him back on the air. We'll be back on in just a moment. You're listening to the best soccer show on NASN.TV.
Back on the Best Soccer Show. Brief interruption there. I apologize. Jared was talking about being cool in high school and playing soccer and getting chicks, and that's the bottom line, apparently, right? If you play
For
soccer,
all males 15 to 17.
if you're 15 and playing soccer is cool, you'll keep doing it, and then we'll get more Americans.
You'll go to practice. I mean, it's how you want to spend your time.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's shift here while we have about 10 minutes left in the show. You want to talk about fullbacks, which I know is a pressing issue for the U.S. men's national team. Eric Lehigh is injured. Not that he was a major figure, but he was a possible figure in the picture. Timmy Chandler did his ACL. Is that the?
I think it was meniscus, if I believe correctly. And I think Jason Davis just crashed again. We'll get him back on the line, guys. Give us 1 second. Sorry about that.
All right, we're back on the Best Soccer Show. Skype is being uncooperative tonight, so we're gonna have to call it a night. We just can't risk being kicked off the air. Jared, let's wrap it up. We'll give a full a full treatment of the fullback situation on Wednesday. We'll talk about Nick Sakavich and Tim Lewicki. Anything else? Quickly.
No, I think that's it, man. We'll get all. I want to get the coaching TMZ battle is something I definitely want to get to, but we just don't have time.
I know, we're all flustered. It's unfortunate. I apologize for our technical difficulties. Got most of the show, but not all of the show, and we'll be back on Wednesday.
Biggie versus Tupac of CEOs.
Yeah. That'll hopefully we'll be back and we'll do a complete show on Wednesday. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter at Best Soccer Show, ratings and reviews on iTunes, Stitcher and TuneIn, and iHeartRadio, and the NASN app on Android, and anything else. What else? Nothing?
That's it, big boy.
All right, we'll talk to you guys Wednesday. Bye.
Best. I wouldn't be cut dead in a sweater vest. Duh and or hello.
Oh, it's incredible! Skin that smoke wagon and see what happens.
Get to the chopper! Get to the chopper!
Michael freaking Oscar Fischel.
America.
Jay Rodius.